What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are continuing to do well on this first day post Pete Carroll era in Seattle. And now I want to talk a little bit about some of the other things that might happen with this Seahawks team with this head coach gone. So let's break down the situation a couple of different ways because obviously the head coach is gone. I know he's still part of the organization, but as a head coach, he is gone. And we can also infer from that that a lot of the other coaches are probably going to follow him. I don't know if it's going to be all of them, but a decent chunk of them are probably going to go. I don't think that requires that much analysis right now. And I think that's mostly okay. I think most people are pretty on board with that. I don't think anybody's going to miss Clint Hurt. I don't think anybody's really going to miss Waldron, even though I don't think Waldron's bad. He hasn't done enough to indicate that he's actually good. So I don't think anybody's going to be shedding a tear about Waldron. And most of our other assistant coaches and positional coaches, some of them are pretty good, some of them not so much, but I don't see any of them being really, really huge losses that the fan base riots over. So that part kind of goes without saying. A lot of the coaches are about to be gone. So I want to talk about the players in this video because this is going to be kind of interesting. When Pete Carroll showed up 14 years ago and took over this team, he kind of went nuts with the roster. He swapped things in and out constantly. He cut a lot of players. He traded a lot of players. He saw a lot of players that maybe they were good players. Maybe they were even really good players, but they didn't fit his vision. They didn't do what he wanted them to do, so he got rid of them and he completely flipped the roster over. He didn't do it immediately in all cases, but he did as much of it as he could, and he did it as quickly as he could while still being able to field a half-decent team. So we've seen what a coach coming in here and just taking over looks like. Now, this time, are we going to get that? Probably not. Probably not, and the reason why I say that is because of the stuff I said in this morning's video about John Schneider. John Schneider is still here, and John Schneider is probably at least part of the reason why the roster is the way that it is right now. So John Schneider still sitting there with power over personnel, with power over who hires the next coach, with personnel, with draft control presumably at this point, and control over who gets signed and who doesn't. He's probably sitting there thinking, I still kind of like this roster. I still like a lot of pieces of this roster. I'm not looking to blow it up, especially because we know he's working under a potentially short time, because he might only have a couple years to impress people before getting out. If the team is going to be sold in the next couple years, Schneider has a limited time window to either impress the new owners or impress owners on another team. So blowing it up and ripping everything down and getting rid of all these players and bringing in all new players and just waiting for a couple of drafts to restock the roster, that's not going to be something that John Schneider wants to do, and it's probably something he doesn't feel like he needs to do. So, first of all, and I'm going to make another video about this down the line, I don't think that means the Seahawks head coaching job is undesirable, but I think there are head coaching jobs out there that are more desirable. And as I said before, there are going to be a couple of head coaching candidates out there that will turn down the Seahawks job because they can't get general manager control because John Schneider has it. I'm thinking specifically Jim Harbaugh and Bill Belichick. Those two guys want to be GMs and coaches. That's not going to fly in Seattle right now, I don't think. I don't think Schneider's going to get this power and immediately give it back to somebody else. So what that means is that a couple of really, really desirable coaches are not on the table. But what it also means is that you're not going to see the roster get completely blown up. You're just not. There are too many guys here that Schneider probably really likes. So let's go through the roster here and talk about the guys who are going to stay and talk about why that doesn't mean that any potential future head coach is put off of this. We have two really good young running backs on rookie deals in Kenneth Walker III and Zach Charbonnet. We've got JSN, and I'll throw in Jake Bobo. I know Bobo's not a big-time player, and he probably will never be that, but he's fun. There's some value there. I think there are a lot of Jake Bobos out there across the NFL, but he's proven to be one of the better Bobo types out there. And JSN goes without saying. People love that guy. People are super high on that guy. People think that guy's going to be a future star in this league, up and down the league. Um, Charles Cross, in coming into the third year of a rookie deal, has shown a lot of promise through his first couple seasons. I'll throw Abe Lucas in there, even though the injury makes it weird. He's still on the rookie deal, the third-year deal, so it's not like you're paying him a ton of money and you don't know if he's going to be available or not. He's sticking around. I would say also Boye Mafe is going to continue to stick around because he's proven what a good young player that he is, and it looks like he can get even better. Obviously, Derek Hall's not going anywhere, although we'll see whether or not he actually turns into something good. I don't think Nwosu's in danger of going anywhere. He just signed that extension. And of course, you've got a guy like Witherspoon who is not going anywhere after the remarkable rookie season that he had. So there is a pretty decent foundation here in Seattle. And there are also a couple of guys who are just kind of stuck here financially. Mostly, I'm talking about the kicker and the punter, Jason Myers and Michael Dixon. They're not going anywhere. Now, Dixon's definitely on the table as being well worth that money. He's definitely a guy who you look at and go, okay, no problem with keeping Mr. Dixon around. Myers, that's not so exciting, but it costs more money to cut him than it does to keep him. So you're kind of stuck with that. But after that, it gets a little more interesting. I think DK Metcalf is safe because he's so good and so talented and has such upper level potential that the odds are high, very high, that the next head coach is going to come in, look at Metcalf and go, that's a guy that I want around because I don't have 3-4 years to build this up. I might only have 1 or 2. I want to try to impress people now. And Metcalf is clearly part of that because he is such a talented player. I suspect that some of the young guys who might be depth on the offensive line, like Bradford and Oluwatimi, are safe just because they're going to be so cheap. And then I kind of sort of think that a guy like Julian Love is probably somewhat safe because he is reasonably priced and there is some stuff about his game that is universally appealing because of his versatility. Where things get interesting would be with a guy like a Geno Smith. Will the next head coach like him enough to keep him around? Or would he rather have that cap space? I think it could go either way. I don't get the sense that John Schneider loves Geno Smith so much he's just married to him, but I also don't get the sense that John Schneider dislikes Geno enough to throw him away just because. So it's really going to depend on what the next head coach wants with Geno Smith. I could see that one going either way. I could see him coming in. Somebody like a Ben Johnson could come in and say, hey, I did it to Jared Goff. I can do it to Geno Smith. It's a very similar situation. I'm good with Geno for at least a year. I could also see somebody like Ben Johnson coming in and saying, I want my guy. It might not even be a shot at Geno because he might just want somebody who fits his system better. He might just want somebody who he's comfortable with. He might just want his guy to succeed or fail with. So Geno could go one way or the other. Tyler Lockett could go one way or the other. There aren't big savings there, but he's a limited receiver who is getting older and is due a lot of money. There could be a move made with Tyler Lockett with a new head coach. I think a lot of the guys who are free agents are just going to be out of here. Guys like Noah Fant, guys like Damian Lewis, Evan Brown, Phil Haynes. I think there's going to be a very interesting decision made on guys like Draymond Jones, Jaron Reed, and Leonard Williams. Basically, the whole defensive line. Brooks and Wagner, very interesting there. And then you have some guys who I think are clearly going to be on the way out. Quandre Diggs, I think, will be gone. I think that Jamal Adams is definitely gone. I think that a guy like Nick Bellore is going to be gone because he was kind of there for culture more than anything. He was a locker room guy more than an on-field player, and the locker room kind of needs to be shifted a lot. So I think a guy like Nick Bellore is definitely going to be gone. There are the home run guys who are definitely gone. Like Brian Monet's gone all day. Like that's not even a thought. There's nothing to even say about that. So there is going to be some turnover. Daryl Taylor's another guy who I think is probably gone at this point. A new guy's going to come in, see a player who's bad, and he's like, I want to go get my own guy. But there's not going to be massive churn. There's going to be some churn, a decent amount of churn, a healthy amount of churn. And don't get it twisted. In that churn, there's going to probably be a player that you actually like. Like, I like Gino, but he might be churned. I like Lockett, but he might be churned. I like Colby Parkinson, but he might be churned. I like Jaron Reed, but he might get churned. That's the price you pay when you move on to another coach, and it's worth it. Because there are also going to be some guys who get churned who need to be churned desperately, like Diggs, like Adams. So I'm on board with whatever. I don't want to see this whole roster get blown up because I think the roster is good enough foundationally to be kept around. But that's not going to happen with Schneider in control anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. But what I'm trying to say is be prepared for some heartbreaking decisions. Be prepared for you to wake up one day and find out this player's gone, that player's gone, this player's signing somewhere else, and you're going to be sad about it for a little bit. Just be prepared for that. Just understand that you can't swap out coaches and expect that coach to like all the same players the previous coach did. Part of the reason why you get another coach in there is to have a new perspective on things. And that new perspective will come with a couple of babies getting tossed out with bathwater. But I think that on the whole, we're in a better spot now. The rookie contract guys are pretty much all safe because they're so cheap and a lot of them are good. A lot of the really good players are probably safe. But be prepared for some heartbreakers this offseason. And when they come, just understand it's the cost of having a new head coach. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think down below. More videos coming later. So much to dive into right now. So much to talk about. Not enough time to make videos for it, but I'm doing the best I can. See you guys later.